Marlo Anderson.
So did you know that malware viruses are now being pre-installed on your computers and phones and all kinds of stuff? We're going to be talking about how you can protect yourself from that a little bit later on in the show. We're also going to be talking about the top 10 legacy video games of all time. There was a survey that was out here in the last week or so, and just to give you an idea, you know, the old Nintendo type of games, we're going to be talking about that a little bit, and some crafty phishing techniques have been going on out there, so we're going to talk about how you can protect yourself from that as well. A lot of protection going on today on this show. Joining me in the studio, long-time listener.
First-time caller.
First-time caller, that's right. Mr. Larry LeBlanc, how you doing, man?
Good.
And, of course, at the control panel, the effervescent. Well, you're just bubbly today there, Mr. Jim Walsh. How you doing, man?
As soon as I have my first cup of coffee and wake up, I'll be fine. But hello.
It is Monday, right?
Yeah. I got a case of Monday head, as you like to call it.
Yeah, well, that's actually Nick's term. Nick Ressler, Monday head. So
yeah, I can see him saying that.
Yeah,
Monday head.
He kind of drags a little bit on Mondays too. There's no doubt
don't we all?
And there's always discussion before you get here. I wonder if he's going to bring some goodies.
And
you did. You brought some delicious cinnamon rolls.
Well, it's actually from Alice. She loves to bake for you guys every week.
And we love Alice.
Yes, all the girls love Alice.
How she puts up with you, I don't know.
That's a good question, actually. I don't know either, except that she hides in the kitchen, I think.
She's a doll.
Knows that I'm not going to be, But, she was busy over the weekend and made all kinds of goodies again, so I hope your staff here can enjoy them.
As they always do.
Good.
By staff, you mean me and Larry.
Yeah. you guys have put a good dent in the pan already here.
And when you bring these big pans, they're the big, deep aluminum pans, and I always say
pans.
I have to go home and make a lasagna, and I've reused these pans like 3 or 4 times.
But I see you brought some back now so that Alice can refill them today. So
exactly.
I think that's
better than my lasagna.
So of course Chuck Perry died over the weekend.
We were talking before we got on the air. When I was a little boy, the first concert I ever went to as a kid was Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis.
That had to be an amazing concert.
I was only 5 or 6.
Do you remember going there?
Yeah, I do.
Unreal.
Yeah, I do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I think, how old was he? 90?
He was 90. Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah,
and still playing.
Oh yeah. It wasn't that long ago I seen him play someplace. Yeah. So. On some television broadcast somewhere. So this kind of brings up, Jim and I have talked about this before, Larry, but we have technology that's coming out now and there's going to be a couple of them later on this year, 3D or holographic performances. So would you pay to go see the holographic Michael Jackson or the holographic Chuck Berry?
And they're doing that now with some shows.
Yes, there's actually going to be...
It's a little creepy.
It is a little creepy. And just to go back, so a couple of years ago, right after Michael Jackson died, there was the holographic... He had a song that he hadn't released yet, and they actually created this holographic version of Michael Jackson for the Grammys.
Yeah.
And they had him up there. You've seen this, didn't you, Jim?
I remember we talked about it.
Yeah, it was really good. What they did is they created...
What they did well.
Yeah, and so he looked amazing. He was sitting in this chair, and he got up, and he did some dance moves and that type of thing. And then, of course, they had live dancers around him. Mm-hmm. So it was difficult to tell, really. And at the end, half the audience gave a standing ovation. The other half were just in wonderment, or whatever you want to say, wondering what they just witnessed. It was really this unusual. It was very awkward at the end about, do you clap to this thing? Is it, because it's not really him performing, and everybody knew that. So you're giving a standing O to the technology, not to the performer. It was kind of weird, actually.
See, I wouldn't watch that. I'm not into that.
But, okay, but let's pick somebody. Who is your favorite artist of all time?
Sinatra.
Okay.
And I saw Sinatra, the real thing, in concert.
Okay, so... Because of that, would you get over knowing that it's going to be the holographic Frank Sinatra? Would you still go pay $25 or $50 to go watch him?
Me, no, because in the words of the comedian Alan King, he was talking about Elvis in this context, but that also applies. I saw the man, the real guy. I'd rather remember him the way he really was.
So I didn't see him.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in that
You're out of luck,
in-between area.
pal.
I mean, I love watching the Rat Pack. I mean, it's one of my favorite things. I love that era of music.
Those fingers in my hand.
Absolutely.
That's like, come hither, step.
Take it away, Jim. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. So I think, if I is it really any different than going to a movie
Going to
theater?
a movie, right? Yeah.
Except that it's a more of a live performance type of thing, and you got people cheering and clapping around you and things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think as long as it wasn't maybe a full price ticket, I don't know if I'd spend like $200 like I would to go to a front row seat to go watch
hell
something
no.
else. But if it's 25 or 50, maybe I would. I don't know.
And
What
throw-
about you, Larry? I mean, what would
And throw some popcorn in with that $25 bill, and
yeah,
I'm there.
there you go.
I don't know. I really don't know if because the main performer that is being hologrammed, if you will, he's surrounded by, or he or she is surrounded by live backup singers and a live band, and I love live performances. So I guess it really depends.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go see, and I should clarify that I actually have seen a little bit of this technology in real life. So Blue Man Group, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with,
yeah.
right?
They're
so
great.
a couple years ago, I was at Blue Man Group in Vegas, and they had a couple of statues that
Right.
sit off to the side in the theater, and we were actually commenting about how real these statues looked. I mean, they were just like amazing. And then during one of their song performances, this statue turns into this amazing thing. We find out later it was a holographic image that was sitting there beforehand, and then turns into people dancing and all this other stuff. So
I have a friend who was on the LSU tennis team with me. He was my partner. His name is Michael Babineau, and he is part of the Blue Man Traveling Group. He is,
really?
He is a Blue Man, yeah.
how many, so have you ever asked him about this? How many people are in the troop?
I'm sorry?
How many people are in the troop? How many Blue Men are there?
Oh, I didn't ask him that, but
How do you get a gig like that, I wonder?
well, he's actually a very good dancer, and he was teaching dancing, and I guess he tried out for it.
I
and
see.
Got it. He's
Jim,
a great athlete.
You
athlete.
just need to be able to catch 100 different marshmallows in your mouth. That's what you have to do.
and look good in blue.
Yeah, I look good in blue. I'd be the powder puff. I'd be the Stay Puff Blue Man.
But they, obviously they have a long stint in Vegas, but then they also have some traveling troops that go
They do,
around,
yes.
and he's part of the traveling troupe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've always wondered how many there are, because I mean, even the Vegas show, they do 2 shows a day, and that has to be extremely trying. And I can't imagine the toll it takes on your skin, for example, to have that.
Actually, their feet.
Really?
Oh, you should see his feet.
I
No, I'm serious. He has, and I hate feet. I don't even like my own feet.
Okay.
But he has the boniest feet because he's a dancer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's on his feet so much, and he has just. He lives in San Diego, and I stayed at his house about a year or so ago, and he was walking around barefoot. I said, "You've got the ugliest feet. Don't kick me out just yet." No, seriously, but you don't view those guys as being athletes, but they really are.
Oh yeah, I can see that, and I would imagine they do okay.
Yeah,
I mean, they must make a couple dollars.
He's done very well.
I think I figured it up one night. Just the Vegas show itself does almost $1 million a day.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
He said that he said about the only drawback is that they travel so much that sometimes he forgets where he is.
Sure.
But they normally work 3 days on, 2 days off, and a lot of times their 2 days off is traveling from one show to another.
That's fascinating, actually. Yeah. So, all right, after the break, everybody, Larry, Jim, and I will continue our conversation, and who knows where that will go.
Who knows?
Right now, 41.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. Supertalk1270.com.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank everybody who follows us on the Blueberry Network. We're also on the Tech Podcast Network, if it's tech, it's here. We're on the Roku. We're in iTunes. We are on some other place. Tuned in. And we're also, of course, we have our own app, Radio Pup. So you can catch the show later if you like, in case you missed something we're talking about. listen to us again.
Yes.
Especially since Larry's here.
So explain to us what malware is.
Malware?
Yeah.
It's just like what it sounds like. It's bad stuff.
Malware.
Yes. Malfeasance.
So is that like a virus?
Well, not always. Malware could be advertising software. So, I'm sure you've had situations where you're on your computer or your smart device or whatever, and here come these ads, and sometimes you can't even get rid of them.
And sometimes the ads follow you. Let's say that you go on Enterprise Rent-A-Car to rent a car, and then for the next week you get these pop-up ads.
Well, that's a little different scenario there. So what they've done there is they've cookied you, and so your computer knows that you were looking for a rental car. It's in your cache. There's this little cookie that states that you were at Enterprise, and then every time you go to another website, if that website has a contract, let's say with Google AdSense and Enterprise, we're going to pick on Enterprise a lot here now, but if they have a contract with them, then that ad will show up. So yeah, absolutely, that's how it works.
So what is malware again?
So malware is something that you actually didn't install on your computer.
You did not install.
You did not install it. I mean, not on purpose anyway. So
but for your convenience.
Yeah, pretty much right. So basically, what's been going on lately is you go buy a computer, and it's been going on for a couple of years now, and you take it home, and the first thing that should pop up in your mind is that how in the world can I buy a desktop computer for $300? I mean, that really is an amazing thing that you can go to a box or a superstore, and some of them are under $200 now, right? And you look into it, and I mean, I know what this stuff costs. There's no way that they can sell it for that price.
My very first computer, the big monster that took up the entire desk, cost me $1,100.
Yeah,
and this was in the mid-90s?
That was your first computer?
Right,
yeah.
Well, my first computer back in 80s, well, I've had computers before 86, but the first thing that I didn't build personally cost me $3,600.
You seem surprised that my first computer was in like 93.
Well, I'm surprised at that, and I'm surprised at how little you spent.
Well, at the time, I thought $1,100 was a lot.
Right. But I compare to, I bought a 286 Equity 2 Plus. I can't believe I remember this. Well, I do.
I bought a compact.
I had a compact as well. Yeah,
My
I had a
brother had a
Commodore
compact.
64.
And if I would have known everything that computer could have done back then, I'd probably be in jail. I mean, I just used it for the basics like email.
Sure.
I never searched the web.
Sure.
The radio stations at the time were just getting websites.
Right.
But it's kind of like I had a Mercedes, but I just used the power windows, and that was it.
Right.
I mean, I didn't realize the power of it. I didn't realize everything that was accessible, and that was in the 90s.
Right.
Just think what's accessible now. I mean, the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, well, you're really bringing back a lot of memories here, but I mean, I had what's called IRC, which was Internet Relay Chat. Mm-hmm. And that was the way you communicated back then. So it was like you go to a BBS, a bulletin board service that usually a college would have. It wasn't the wild west of the internet like we have right now, right? There was no graphics. It was all, there was no, AOL when that first came out was really the first real interface that you had that had graphics because we were running DOS 3.1 on our machines. There was no Windows.
And I'm probably the only guy within a 200-mile radius of my voice who still has and utilizes my AOL address.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do. I still pay the $4.99.
Well, it's damn near impossible to get rid of. Ever try to cancel your AOL account?
You ever tried? Well, I was going to say, you ever tried to talk to customer service there?
Yeah.
But
I didn't realize they charged you $4.99 a month for your email.
Yeah, I still have it, and it's almost like it's that phone number that if you get rid of, you're going to have to alert all your friends.
Right.
I've had this email address forever.
So you must have other services besides email that comes with that then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got a heck of a lot more now, but back then I didn't realize everything that came with it.
I'm just saying with your email, the $4.99 you spend with AOL right now, there has to be more than just email attached to that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything else. I mean, you get the virus protection.
Okay. Well, no.
When I get of age, I become an AARP member for free.
But, if you're...
No, it's true. I mean, when when you reach a certain age and you're a member of AOL, you get AARP for free. I mean, there's a lot of free stuff that they give you.
Sure,
but I guess they have to give you free stuff.
Yeah. Well, the virus protection is a big deal because at $4.99 a month, that's $60 a year. I pay $50 a year for virus protection. So that is a pretty good deal, actually. Then,
Yeah.
I'm just saying if they take care of that.
My
Yes,
first
sir.
computer was a laptop. I got it at what was the name of that place? The computer place. They're out of business now.
The one with the cow?
The Cal?
The
Gateway.
Yeah.
No, it was Comp something or other. It was not Circuit City.
Not
I
like
bought a computer at Circuit City and it died like within 3 days.
CompuServe.
No. It was a brick and mortar computer store.
Okay.
Anyway, I bought my computer there. It was a Japanese model. I think it was Sanyo
Okay.
or Sony. Well, one of the others. I'm a little fuzzy. I'm fuzzy on what I had
That's
for
right.
breakfast. But I got the laptop
And it's
I
sitting
got
right in front of them.
Yeah. Oh, these are good. They look familiar. I'm starting to sound
I'm
like
sorry,
a geezer.
Jim. I didn't mean to take
These look familiar.
He's out sleeping in the
Squirrel.
hallway.
He turns around and looks. Yeah.
Well, anyway, the laptop and the leather satchel, which I bought, real nice leather satchel to carry it in, and a few bells and whistles, $1,800.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh yeah.
And now just they're dirt cheap.
Well, think about this. When I bought my first, now this wasn't my first computer, the first computer with a hard drive. So this was an 86. Had a choice between a 10 meg or a 20 meg hard drive. 10 meg or 20 meg, and it was a $400 difference. And I remember discussing this, and we're like, what are we going to use with all this extra space? Right?
Oh, geez.
Now, if you take a photo,
Right.
the photo's bigger than that whole hard drive I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah, it was insane how small this stuff was. But because you didn't have graphics attached to anything, it didn't take that much space because it was just letters and numbers that you were doing with this stuff.
Well, the old joke is, and it's not entirely technically true, is that the computers we have now, even the iPhones, are supposedly more complicated than the ones they used to get to the moon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. But the thing is, those computers they're all used for one purpose. They're all basically
Dedicated.
strictly,
Yep.
purely number crunching.
Yep.
They were designed to never crash. You don't want a computer crashing when you're trying not to crash into the moon, obviously.
Right, exactly.
But in a sense, I suppose it is true.
It is true.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now people are buying computers that have malware installed.
Yeah, so what happens is generally speaking, we're talking about the price point of computers, right? So you go and buy a computer, $200 or $300. Generally, there's about $100 that software manufacturers or software developers have paid these computer manufacturers, to have their software installed on the computer. So that effectively drives the price down when you go buy a computer. However, you may not want all that stuff on your computer, so a lot of people will turn right around and give it to a computer shop and say, hey, get rid of this stuff from me, right? So the price goes right back up anyway. But they're hopeful that you're going to continue to buy or use those softwares, and there's obviously a proven formula there that if you have this stuff on your computer, you're going to continue to, or at least they'll have the chance to sell some more to you. So that's what they're after. So you got to get rid of that. And then the malware part and the virus part that's going on is that somewhere in the supply chain, you have the manufacturer that puts the software on your operating system, right? And somewhere along the line, you have somebody that's decided that, hey, I'm going to put something bad on this thing. So they plug it into a computer, they put viruses on there or whatever. So then it ends up in your hands. You go to the phone store or you go to your local computer store and you take it home and there's already a virus on it. And that's what's going on. Somewhere in the supply chain now, they're starting to do this stuff. Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is install virus protection and scan your machine. Don't even log into your bank or anything else after you get a new device. Make sure your machine is clear of this stuff.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna start stealing your information. That's what it's all about.
Before you log in,
right?
Just scan it.
Well, yeah, because the first time you go to your bank on your new device, if you haven't gone through and scanned it to make sure there aren't any viruses on there, and that's still not 100%, but at least you have some reassurance. And generally, in the supply chain, that stuff is probably 2 or 3 months old before you get it anyway, before you buy it, right?
Right.
So generally, virus protection has, those viruses has been out for a while, so that virus protection is up to date, and we'll be able to beat that virus. But it's kind of scary that this is out there right now. It really is. Larry, you're like looking at me like, how is this even possible?
Well, do the computer companies know this is happening?
Well, they know it's happening, but the challenge is that they can't control everybody in the supply chain.
Right.
So it might go out of the company clean, but then it goes to a distributor, and somebody who just wants to do something or maybe wrote a virus themselves or is being compensated by somebody. Those Russians are out there, of course,
right.
And being compensated to pull devices out, and they just plug them into a computer real quick to put a virus on it, and then they put it back in the box, and away it goes.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. It's not a very hard thing to do.
So outside of trying to steal your identity and all that stuff, what is the purpose of the person behind the virus?
That's probably the biggest thing right now is identity theft. They want the ability to, access a bank account or access your credit cards or what have you. That's the big game right now. It's all about money. Used to be where, they wanted to do harm to your machine. And there's still viruses out there that do that, but the biggest thing is about identity theft, trying to get your stuff. So we will continue this conversation, everybody. This is actually fascinating today.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, glad you showed up. Larry.
I am fascinated.
So great.
Right now, 41. Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And as usual, the conversation during break is just as enlightening as it is on the show.
Maybe a little weirder.
Usually a little weirder.
Because I'm here.
Yes. Actually, you're keeping us to the straight and narrow today, Larry. You're like our boss in the studio here, so we have to actually do our job.
Mm-hmm.
You're like that operations manager guy.
Yeah, I don't like him.
Tell him we're doing that.
I don't like him.
He's kind of a rude.
He's obnoxious.
So we were just talking about, protecting yourself from
and during the break, I said, of all people, I'm surprised that you fell for one of these things.
Yeah, I'm not, invincible to these things too. So I was just sharing a story with Larry here about how I, kind of got tricked into this. So I go to this one website, and it actually stated in order to view this website properly, you have to download this Google font. And there was this very professionally done down arrow clicking to or showing you where I had to click. And I was like, I don't know about this. So I actually refreshed the screen thinking that, I can get away from this or whatever. And I got back to it again, and it asked me the same question again. And I don't know if sometimes I get a little click happy, and I clicked on that thing, and like I told you during the break, the lights went down in the office, and I could tell right away that I did something that I shouldn't do. So like Nick always says, don't turn off your computer, just unplug it, because by the time because you just don't turn your computer off anymore. You got to hold it for like 5 seconds and all this other stuff, right? So I unplugged it, plugged it back in, and sure enough, most of my computer, including my 2 hard drives that back up everything, were pretty much encrypted already. I have no access to all that information. So yeah, it happens to me too.
And they make those emails, like you said, so realistic looking. I mean, I continually get things from my bank that says, we've noticed some suspicious activity, click here.
Right.
And anytime you hear that little voice that says, don't do it, you shouldn't do it.
That's exactly right. You really shouldn't. You should just
And I get the
step away
same thing from my credit card company. We've noticed some unusual activity on your account.
Right.
Click here.
Right.
It's like, no.
Well, and even the old tried and true stuff. I still get emails every day saying that your FedEx package has been disrupted. Or
I fell for that once.
You did,
yeah, because I was actually expecting.
See,
a
that's
package.
the thing. It's called phishing, phishing, instead of So they're phishing for stuff. All it takes is 1 out of 1,000 to click on something. It costs them nothing to send this stuff out, and that's the thing you have to understand. So they'll do this all day long.
Yeah.
And you click that. So what happened to your computer when?
Oh, geez. I mean, you got the blue. If I remember right, I got the blue screen automatically, and it was the blue screen of death. And we have a tech guy here, and I had to bring it to him. And
sure.
Randy took He said this was a bad one. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And the thing is with some of that stuff is that you have to understand that these people are pretty smart. I mean, they're smart enough to write this stuff in the first place, right? So you had that virus, and you're all concerned about your computer not working.
Right.
What you're not understanding probably is that while you're fixing this over here, they've also installed other stuff over on the other, over here.
Right.
And that's probably a keylogger or something like that. So you're so concerned about getting your computer fixed, you're not even concerned about the other stuff that they've put on there, and most of that stuff is about getting your passwords and stuff again.
Yeah.
So you really, if you have something that really hurts your computer in such a way, I would go farther, because most of the time now it's all about identity theft again.
And look for misspellings.
Yeah, always
Look for misspellings.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing I always look for too, like in that email stuff, if you hover over the link that they want you to go to, if you just hover over it with your mouse, you can look in the bottom left hand of the screen and it'll show you where it's going to take you. Mm-hmm. So if it's looking like something for PayPal, for example, right, and it'll be www.paypa.com /whatever, and you're like, oh, it's not taking me to PayPal, it's taking me to some PayPal.
I hate PayPal.
PayPal.
And of course, you click on it, and it looks like a PayPal website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very, very good at this stuff. They really are. It's really the.
But you're right. If they get one
Well
out of 1,000,
1 out of a million.
that's a great
Yeah.
day.
It is a great day.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can make $4 or $5 grand in a day living in Nigeria, that's a pretty good income.
Yeah.
Nothing against Nigerians.
Oh, no.
We love you.
But it's just it's the cost
For
of
all
living
our
is just a
listeners in
little,
Nigeria, we
little
apologize.
different there.
Yeah.
For 49 cents, you can have a whole meal there. So it's a little different than it is here.
Which is known as a Happy Meal there.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Any meal. If you're lucky to get a meal, it's a Happy Meal.
Wow. But, and then, we're having a little fun at Nigerians' expense here, of course, or Nigerians' expense. But, the government there does nothing to these people. It's almost encouraged. It's actually a growth industry in Nigeria right now. How much money can we steal from those Americans? It really is. It's a growth
Those
industry.
wacky Americans.
So this situation is not going to go away. Good virus protection. You said you just put Viper on your machine.
Right. I bought Viper, and I get to cover 5 Android devices and 5 computer devices.
Yeah, yeah. Vipers are good. That's.
And what's nice about Viper is that when you go to download something, if they question it, you get this big red alert, and it's like, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't need that cartoon.
Yeah. And there's a couple other, Kaspersky is a good one. I don't really recommend Norton anymore. Norton in its day was good, and it probably it's still okay. I shouldn't say. The only thing with Norton is that, like, I always like to find lesser known virus protections that are pretty good, because what happens is companies like Norton get under attack themselves. They find vulnerabilities in the virus software you have
because they're a big target.
Because they're a big target, just like Windows is. So they'll figure that out, and then you think you're protected when you're really not, or they turn it off, and you're looking at there, and you're like, oh, the icon's still glowing. It must be working okay. So you don't think anything of it. So.
Well, I remember when the big ones were Norton and McAfee.
Yes,
McAfee, however you say it.
Yep. And, McAfee's still around, too. But, there are a few others. And like I said, Kaspersky, Viper, those are the ones that I like to recommend.
A friend of mine at the time, he had the A+ certification for what that's worth. And he recommended some free service that came out of Eastern Europe at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I always say that, most of these companies have free product as well. But that's the last stuff that gets updated in their chain, So if you're paying for the service, you're going to be the first one that gets the updates and that type of thing. So I always think the free stuff is only as good as what you're paying for. And generally speaking, it's always funny when people come into the computer shop and we ask them if they want to update their virus protection. They go, no, it's okay. Our virus protection is okay. And you're in here because, I got a virus on my machine. So you're like, so what do you have? Well, I have the free stuff from whatever, and so they give up $50 and then they pay us $200 to fix it. So to me, that logic doesn't make a whole lot of sense sometimes. Sometimes having protection is a good thing, But
I thought you were setting us up for a joke there for a second.
I was kind of going there, but
okay.
we're
now what happens when
you
plug it in? Oh, I plug it in. Oh. Oh, you need electricity to run this thing.
Okay, so that reminds me, I have to show you this story then. So one time I got a call, this computer service, and I'm sure you've seen these videos before online where the computer service horror stories that you see from the people who are trying to provide the service, right?
Right.
So this person was like, had us repair a computer and started going through all the things. It's just not turning on, and I'm like, first thing, is it powered on? Hold the button for 5 seconds. Is it plugged in the back? Is it plugged into the wall? Well, finally, I just asked, can you go under the desk maybe and just make sure it's plugged into the wall? And the gentleman said, well, the power's out right now, so it's kind of dark, so I don't know. And you're like, oh my goodness, So there's, you sometimes wonder when you call customer service for these things, and they have this whole checklist of stuff that they go through, and you're like, why do I have to go through all of this? It's because they've experienced this stuff with somebody down the road somewhere. So
I've got a quick question.
Yes.
So, and you talked about this on an earlier show that I was on. But you said if you think you have a virus on your computer, as soon as you see it, you unplug it.
Right.
But what if you have a laptop that runs on a battery also?
Well, you can most laptops you can pop the battery out. Yeah. But in that instance, it actually takes more time to pop the battery out than to turn it off. So I would just hold the power button down for 4 or 5 seconds and just get your machine off. Somehow or another. The power cord is the quickest way if you're on a desktop because you can just take the power off of it. But on a laptop scenario, your power button is probably the quickest.
And I've actually followed your advice several times. I saw something of question, and I just quickly turned it off. But you're right. When you hold the power button, it's like 3 or 4 seconds before it actually powers down, and that stuff can move fast.
It can move very fast, and if you've clicked something, then it can move extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
If you have it pending on your window, it's asking you to click something.
Right.
And a lot of times those pop-up windows, even the X, the thing that you'd normally get out of a window, is a yes button.
Right.
That whole graphic is one big yes button, and so anywhere you click on it means that you've given that virus permission to come in. So yeah, just unplug, turn off, whatever you need to do to get away from it.
One time, I forget the product that I was searching for, but the provider wanted to take control of my computer.
Yes.
And I was stupid at the time, so I let them take control of my computer. And then I realized what was going on, and every time I tried to end the chat, they would quickly try and prevent my cursor from going there. And it was like, a race to, so I actually did what you told me because it was on my desktop. I just unplugged. I said, you know what? Watch this. Bye. And I just unplugged it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've never heard of such a scenario before where they actually disabled you from.
It's like because they could see what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And every time I went to end the conversation, they would move my cursor away, and it was a fight for the cursor.
That's
I was like,
crazy.
I'll show you.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So, they're very, very...
and that's one thing you never want to happen is have some unknown person or persons actually take control of your computer.
Yeah, because then they have access to everything that's on your machine. It's not just... it's all of... It's your history. It's your life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have their life on these machines now. So... the last thing you want to do is probably lose the last 10 or 15 years of photos, for example, and all this other stuff you have.
Or the last $10,000 or $15,000 in your checking account.
That's exactly right, too. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that...
I can do without the photos.
Yep. All right, everybody, we'll continue our conversation with Mr. Larry LeBlanc after the break.
Currently 44.
Live news headlines and weather together. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And in studio, Larry LeBlanc and Jim Walsh. We've been kind of wandering all over the place with the conversation. Just want to do a quick throw out. If you're in the Bismarck, Mandan, North Dakota area, TEDx is going to be in Bismarck. TEDx going to be in Bismarck on March 28th. I know there's just a couple of tickets left.
Are you speaking at it?
I am speaking at it.
Yeah.
So actually I'm going to be talking about basically robots, 3D printers, autonomous vehicles and what it's going to do to the job market in the future. How it's going to change how we work, live, and play. So, and yeah, it's actually a pretty good deal. You get dinner with that and a whole bit. There are 6 of us that are speaking.
So a little sneak preview. Is it going to change the job market?
Yes.
It will. You know,
Significantly.
fascinating thing, and Jim will remember this, many years ago when they started to automate radio,
Yep.
a lot of broadcasters were saying, oh, there goes our job.
Right.
And that never materialized.
Well,
I mean,
It's different, though.
it is different. I mean, because, you know, a lot of what we do now is computerized, and a lot of what we do, the genesis of that was the automation.
Right.
And it has evolved, but, I mean, when it first came out, there was broadcasters fearing that this is going to replace the Harris board will or the Drake Chenault system will. You remember Drake Chenault there, Jim, and the Harris
Rod Stewart,
right,
and Maggie May,
and before that,
Wow.
the time is
Johnny Borders.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so. But with technology, everything is revolving so fast, and it does affect the job market. But as far as putting people out of work, will they really be out of work, or will there be some opportunity for them to get some sort of training to work with those systems?
So I think what's going to happen is, and I hate to give away all of my talk.
Well, we don't want to do that.
But just know that, because, yeah, I want people to come, although I think it's very close to being sold out. So if you want tickets, you need to get there. But there's never been a time in our history, and I always look back at history to look at the future. I always do this. There's never been a time in our past where technology has changed something that has actually created less jobs overall. Now, they may have changed, right? If you're a buggy whip manufacturer, you're probably not doing so well anymore. You know,
They're selling your whips to other people.
Yes, yeah. I mean, at one time there were 39,000 companies in the United States that sold buggy whips. You know, there's just a handful now.
Now they're selling leather and whips.
Well, but
it's a different market, but still, nevertheless,
we're laughing about that. But that's exactly what you have to do, Larry. I
Right.
mean, you have to, as a company, you need to look at that and say, hey, where else can I go here? You know, and some companies have. Some companies that actually made wheel bearings for stagecoaches realize that maybe these wheel bearings could be used in many other things, and as a result, they're one of the largest companies in the world now.
But you said something that I wholeheartedly believe, and a lot of times I will preach to some friends and family. The best way to predict the future is to look at the past.
Right.
Study the past.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was in school, I was like, you have to be kidding me. We're going to history again. Why do I want to learn about something in, you know, Abraham Lincoln? I mean, my goodness, that's ancient history. When I was a kid, it was ancient history. Now I look at that and I'm like, it's, you know, my grandparents probably knew people that were in the Civil War. I mean, it's really, we're not really that far removed from this.
No, we're not.
And you know, I'm like you. When I was in school, I hated history, and I think the older you get, the more appreciation you have
Absolutely.
for history and where you come from, not only where you come from, but where your community comes from. And I am so fascinated with history now that I regret being a goofball in college and in high school.
I'm the same way. Jim, you had something
Those who forget the past or fail to learn from it are condemned to repeat it.
That's exactly right. And, you know, I always look at I collect old newspapers, and I have some very, very old newspapers. I have one from 1806
Wow.
that talks about Lewis and Clark when they went back to Congress to ask for more money because when they left, they only thought they were going to be gone for a year. So they went back and actually got additional money. I have one from 1836 that talks about the demise of the Mandan Indians due to smallpox.
How do you preserve a newspaper that old?
Well, there's archival processes that you can use now. I actually have mine under archival glass, and when you frame something that old, you take the air away from it too, so it's in a vacuum.
Have you seen newspapers.com?
I haven't.
It's a great site. It's all archived newspapers.
Really? That would be cool to
And
see.
he said And Jim said that with a mouthful
Yes,
of cinnamon
yes.
roll. That's talent right there.
A lot of talent. But you know, it's so funny when I read these old newspapers, and the format is different, and of course they have proper English. So when you're reading these things, or Old English, I should say, so the F's look like S's and all this other stuff. Yeah, King's English. Thank you, Jim. It's difficult to read, but once you get past that, you start reading these stories, right? The country was broke. Mm-hmm. We had, diseases here and there. We had riots in the streets. We had shootings. We had all this other stuff. The news is the same, basically. The players have changed.
You know what's
just amazing to me.
What's crazy is that the newspaper industry, or the newspaper in every local town, is probably the source that records the history of that community, county, parish, whatever. But it is somewhat depressing to see what the newspaper industry is going through now. Because, I mean, the Tribune here is doing well. But you go, like in my hometown of New Orleans, I mean, the Times-Picayune, which is one of the biggest newspapers ever, they're down to one edition a week.
Wow.
And they're trying to put everything online.
Right.
But the industry really fought against the online stuff. So it'll be interesting to see where that industry is heading.
I agree. I think they have to figure that out. They have to figure out the internet component, and they haven't done a great job of that yet because they fought it for so long.
Right.
And I understand that. I mean, you're a business that's hundreds of years old, you know, and all of a sudden you're facing this transformational time, this transformational age that just crept up on you because they've gone through. You know, you think about this. Newspapers have gone through radio. They've gone through TV. And these were probably movies, whatever else, and these things all provided information. The radio, I mean, you guys do news, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the newspaper looked at that and goes, we'll be okay. You know,
Yeah.
They looked at TV, and the nightly news started coming out, and then the local news came out, and they're like, we'll be okay. You know, and the radio probably thought the same thing about TV too at the time. You know, and your listenership grew even though TV showed up, and readership grew even though TV and radio showed up. And all of a sudden, here comes the internet, and I'm sure they all looked at that and they go, it's just another little thing. Yeah. We'll be fine, you know.
I think the dilemma they have is how do they find a way to make money off the online content?
Right.
Because
they're still trying to figure that
one out. They are still trying to figure it out.
And I don't know if they ever come up with an answer.
Well, it's difficult for them because I think they keep changing the game all the time too. Because I notice I'll go to the local paper here, and sometimes they get the pop-up ads, and then the next week they're not showing them anymore. And I'm sure it's because there's a multitude of people that are like, if you guys are going to show pop-up ads, we're not coming to your website anymore. Right. You know. So,
and by the way, the local paper here is doing very, very well.
They do well. Yes,
they're doing very well.
Yeah.
But a lot of newspapers are doing well. Let's face it, a lot of media companies are doing the same thing. They're doing the exact wrong thing in the face of the challenge. They're cutting back on the talent.
Right.
They're cutting back on the people who do the actual reporting. My hometown paper, Wilmington, Delaware, which is a town about the size of Omaha or Toledo, they have one full-time local beat reporter on the daily paper.
Wow.
One guy. Everything else is piped in from
for 500,000 people.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
For 500,000 people.
That's amazing.
You got time to talk about games?
Sure.
I totally derailed you.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that might have to be at another time, I guess.
Sorry, I derailed you.
That's okay. We'll bring up the games next week, everybody. So we'll have the top 10 list of old games next time. This has been fascinating, you guys.
It's always fun.
We'll have to bring Larry back next time.
Somehow or another, we need to get him in the studio more often because we always have great shows when he's on.
You have great food, I'm here.
So that's how it works.
Thank you, Alice.
We'll bring food in.
Dinner and a movie.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, dinner and good conversation. Anyway.
So when's your talk again?
It is March 28th.
March 28th.
Out at the University of Mary.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know I just asked
and tickets
Emily,
still remain.
Tickets still remain, but there's not a lot left. I asked her this morning if we had some left, and she said there's just very few. So, so if you want to get out and listen to, there's 6 great speakers, and I guess, 5 and me. Put it that way.
And what's the event called?
It's TEDx.
TEDx.
You're not familiar with TEDx?
No, I'm not. When you said I thought it was FedEx, I said, what?
You'll have to hop on YouTube and type in TEDx and do a search. You'll be amazed at the number of speakers. It's a huge, huge deal.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks, Larry. Thanks always.
Thank you.
Jim, take care, everybody. Have a great week.